Could he have imagined that his aspiration to overcome silence for his loved ones would lead to a revolution in communication? The story of Alexander Graham Bell is more than just the invention of the telephone. It's years of obsession with sound, unexpected epiphanies born from mistakes, and a dramatic race for the patent. From the first failed attempts to the legendary phrase, "Mr. Watson, come here," this story will show how human curiosity and one chance event forever changed the way we communicate, making the world much closer. He dreamed of giving voice to the deaf, but gave it to the whole world, the untold journey of Alexander Bell to the telephone. Part 1, Roots of Passion, Sound and Silence. Born on March 3, 1847, in Edinburgh, Scotland, Alexander Bell, he later added the name Graham in honor of a family friend, was surrounded by the world of sounds and speech from an early age. His grandfather, Alexander Bell Sr., was an elocution teacher, and his father, Melville Bell, developed visible speech, a phonetic system to teach deaf people how to pronounce words. This family legacy deeply influenced young Alec. He felt the problems of communication particularly acutely because of his mother, Eliza Grace Simons Bell, who was gradually losing her hearing. Young Alexander would spend hours by her side, pressing his lips to her forehead and speaking in a low voice, hoping the vibrations would help her hear. This desire to help his mother and other people with hearing impairments became one of the driving forces of his life. He was an inquisitive child. At the age of 12, observing the tedious work at a friend's flour mill, he invented a device with rotating paddles for automatically husking wheat. But his true passion remained sound. He studied the anatomy of the larynx, experimented with resonant frequencies, trying to understand the mechanics of the human voice and hearing. Part 2, Teacher of the Deaf and the Dream of a Harmonic Telegraph. In 1870, due to health problems, tuberculosis, from which two of his brothers had died, the Bell family moved to Canada, and later, in 1871, Alexander moved to Boston, USA. Here, he quickly gained a reputation as an outstanding teacher for the deaf, becoming a professor of vocal physiology and elocution at Boston University. His methods, based on his father's system, helped many. It was during this period that he met Mabel Hubbard, one of his students, who had lost her hearing in childhood due to scarlet fever. Her father, Gardiner Green Hubbard, an influential lawyer and businessman, would later become one of Bell's main financial patrons. Parallel to teaching, Bell nurtured an ambitious idea to create a harmonic telegraph. In those days, telegraph lines could transmit only one message at a time. Bell envisioned a device that would allow sending multiple messages simultaneously over a single wire using different musical tones, similar to notes on a piano. Each tone would correspond to a separate message. This idea promised a revolution in communications and huge profits. It was for the development of the harmonic telegraph that he sought funding. Part 3, Thomas Watson and Years of Experiments. In 1874, fate brought Bell together with Thomas A. Watson, a talented young electrician and mechanic who worked in Charles Williams' workshop, where electrical equipment was manufactured. Hubbard and Thomas Sanders, father of another of Bell's deaf students, George, agreed to finance Bell's experiments on the condition that he focus on the harmonic telegraph. Bell and Watson became an inseparable team. Bell generated ideas, drew diagrams, and Watson embodied them in metal and wire, often working through the night. Their workshop on Court Street in Boston witnessed countless attempts, mistakes, disappointments, and small victories. They experimented with diaphragms and electromagnets, trying to make metal reeds vibrate in unison at the transmitting and receiving ends of the line. Bell was torn between his passion for helping the deaf, his obligations to investors regarding the harmonic telegraph, and a new, even more exciting idea that began to form in his mind: what if, instead of tones, one could transmit the human voice itself? Part 4, The Accident That Changed Everything. Summer 1875. Work on the harmonic telegraph had reached a dead end. Experiments were not yielding the desired results. On June 2, 1875, one of those legendary moments occurred when an accident prompts a great discovery. Bell and Watson were working in different rooms with their devices. Watson was trying to adjust one of the transmitters, whose metal reed had stuck to a contact. Trying to free it, Watson plucked the reed. In the next room, Bell, pressing a receiver to his ear, suddenly heard not just a click or a tone, but a faint yet distinct sound resembling the twang of that very reed, with all its overtones. It was an epiphany. Bell realized that a continuous electric current, modulated by vibrations, like those created by the reed Watson plucked, could transmit complex sounds, not just simple tones. This meant that the transmission of the human voice was possible. From that moment on, Bell's focus definitively shifted to creating a device for transmitting speech, the telephone. Although his investors still insisted on the harmonic telegraph, Bell secretly, with Watson's help, worked on his new dream. Part 5: The Race for the Patent and the Birth of the Telephone. The following months were filled with intense work. Bell and Watson experimented with different types of transmitters and receivers. They created the so-called gallows frame transmitter and a liquid transmitter. Meanwhile, Bell was not the only one working on the idea of transmitting voice. Another inventor, Elisha Gray, was also approaching similar results. A real race began. On February 14, 1876, Bell's lawyers filed a patent application for his telephone. Amazingly, on the same day, just a few hours later, Elisha Gray filed a caveat, a declaration of intent to patent, for a device for transmitting vocal sounds. This circumstance later led to numerous lawsuits, but Bell's patent had priority. On March 7, 1876, the U.S. Patent Office issued Alexander Graham Bell Patent Number 174,465 for improvements in telegraphy, which effectively described the telephone. Bell was only 29 years old. Part 6: Mr. Watson, come here. Even after receiving the patent, Bell and Watson continued to improve their apparatus. They still had not achieved clear transmission of intelligible speech over a distance. And then, on March 10, 1876, 3 days after receiving the patent, during another experiment in their Boston laboratory, another significant incident occurred. Bell was working with a liquid transmitter, and Watson was in another room with the receiver. Bell accidentally spilled battery acid on himself and exclaimed into the transmitter, "Mr. Watson, come here, I want to see you." To his astonishment and joy, Watson heard these words clearly and distinctly through the receiver. He immediately ran to Bell, confirming that the call had taken place. This was the first successful transmission of human speech by electricity in history. The birthday of the telephone. Part 7: The World on a Wire. Initially, Bell's invention was met with skepticism. However, a demonstration at the Centennial Exposition in Philadelphia in June 1876, where the telephone received a gold medal and impressed Emperor Pedro II of Brazil, changed attitudes. The era of the telephone began. In 1877, Bell, along with Hubbard, Sanders, and Watson, founded the Bell Telephone Company, which later evolved into the giant AT&T. Alexander Graham Bell's journey to inventing the telephone was long and arduous. It was filled with hard work, disappointments, epiphanies, accidents, and, most importantly, a deep belief in his dream and a desire to improve communication between people, something he felt so acutely due to his mother's deafness and his work with students. His discovery forever changed the world, making it smaller and more connected.